If you're a homesteader, then you know that making mistakes comes with the territory. One of the beautiful things about that though is that you can grow and learn from it, but of course mistakes can be costly in not only money but time. So if you can avoid making some, it's going to be better for you.
So what we've done, once again, is collect a bunch of our friends from all over the country to share their mistakes so you can avoid making them too.
Enjoy!
I'm Tobias from Hayes Homestead, and our channel focuses on the renovation of a neglected 50-plus acre farm in the tablelands of New South Wales. A massive thank you and a shout out to Di and Sam for making this collab possible. We really appreciate it. Our channel is a good mix of renovation, ground-up building projects, and life as a homesteader off-grid, trying to pursue a more sustainable way of life with our family and our animals. When I was asked to share a story of a mistake or mistakes we've made since embarking on this journey, it was quite hard to pinpoint something that stood out as something I would change. Our life here, undertaking such a massive project to bring this old farm back from years of neglect, hasn't been without dramas and shortfalls. There have been times we've made mistakes or done something wrong which needed to be fixed or addressed quickly. But that's when it occurred to me what I consider to be the biggest mistake when taking on a life like this. I think the biggest mistake is probably getting caught up on mistakes and letting those things defeat you in that moment. I have a saying that helps me get above mistakes and make me feel better about making them, and that is to think of them less as mistakes and more like lessons. Being presented with the opportunity to grow and learn by failing and teaching yourself why it went wrong is a moment of growth. Every new skill takes time to master, and the quickest way to learn the right way is to realize why something didn't work and letting it encourage you to focus on how it should be done to achieve the results you're looking for. So I would say my biggest mistake is probably letting mistakes get to me. I wouldn't be where I am today and know what I know without having made a few mistakes. And that could potentially lead to bigger mistakes down the track. Learning is growth, and one of the best things about this way of life is learning all the things that come with it. It takes time, sure, but as we all know, life is about the journey, not the destination.
Hello there, I'm Susan from High Country Homestead in the beautiful alpine region of northeast Victoria. Di and Sam have asked me to share my biggest mistakes in homesteading, and I had two ripper examples, but then the more I thought about it, the more I realised that they were really caused by the same bigger issue, which was thinking that I could figure it all out on my own. When I moved here from the city, I had this big dream of self-sufficiency, growing food, raising animals, and living a simpler, more intentional life. But what I didn't realise at the time is that homesteading isn't really a solo project. It's as much about community and shared knowledge as it is about hard work and determination. I came here with enthusiasm but not much experience, and like a lot of new homesteaders, I thought research meant books, Google and YouTube. And don't get me wrong, they're great, but they can't tell you what grows, grazes or thrives in your soil, with your weather, in your district. And it took me a while to figure that out, even for an avid gardener like myself. In my first year, I discovered that the paddocks were full of what I thought were lovely wildflowers. They turned out to be variegated thistles, and by the time I'd realised what they were, they'd spread like wildfire. And later, when I moved from rearing steers to trying to breed my own cattle, well, I learnt another hard lesson. Let's just say I didn't realise how lush feed could become a problem until calving season arrived, and every calf had to be manually pulled because all of them were too large to birth naturally. It was a heartbreaking mistake that ended up costing the life of one of my 6 heifers and 3 of the calves. What changed everything for me was talking to the locals. Once I started asking questions at the stock feed store, at community markets, even just over a boundary fence, things began to click. Farmers who had been here their whole lives would share tips that you'd never find online. When the frost usually hits, which weeds to watch out for, or when to pull your animals off a paddock before the grass turns too rich. This kind of local knowledge is gold, and it's freely given if you just take the time to ask. So my biggest mistake wasn't really the thistles or the cattle. It was trying to do too much on my own. The best investment that I've made on this property hasn't been equipment or livestock. It's been relationships. Because out here, your neighbours aren't just your friends. They're your library, your first aid kit, your backup power, your mechanic, your support network, all rolled into one. Research, books, and videos will get you started, but local knowledge will keep you going. And these days I still make mistakes, we all do, and I will continue to make mistakes. But now I know who to call, who to ask, and when to listen. Homesteading isn't about knowing it all. It's about being part of something bigger. I'd like to thank you for watching, and happy homesteading.
G'day guys, welcome to Homestead on the Rock. Come on in. Firstly, I just want to say that I'm super excited to be a part of this video and collaborating with so many other awesome Australians who have decided to pursue the homesteading lifestyle. Hopefully you're one of them. My name's Tom, and together with my beautiful wife Samantha and our 2 children, we have embarked on the journey of turning this quarter-acre block of land into a little homestead. Now, we haven't actually been homesteading very long at all. We only moved out to this little block of land to start our homestead like 6 months ago. So all of the mistakes that we're making, or the mistakes that we've made, we don't really know what they actually are yet. Maybe I'm going to regret putting this fig tree here in the corner. Maybe I'm going to regret building this chicken coop the way I did and putting it right here. There used to be a giant red gum tree right here. Maybe this tree should have stayed here, or maybe it's good that it's gone. The point is, we're still very early on in our journey, so we really don't know what decisions we've made are going to turn out to be big mistakes. But if I had to share one mistake that I've made, this is something that I've done that maybe you shouldn't, or at least it's just worth considering. Storage solutions and grass management. We've got scrap materials laying everywhere. Wood, corrugated water tank thing there, logs, colorbond steel, there's mesh, heaps of fencing, metal Rio bars laying in there, more corrugated iron, glass, weatherboards, pegs, more corrugated iron, wood, rabbit cage, chicken coop thing, bobs thing, more steel, garbage piled up, laying around everywhere, and all around the back here, mesh and all sorts of things. All this rubbish just keeps piling up and it makes the property a big mess. And this is an example of how much the grass grows. Here, I've actually whippersnipped, but all this grass yet, I haven't had the chance. It's getting very, very high, as you can see, if I just leave it. Bonus tip, buying a battery whippersnipper, bad idea, don't do it. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is, instead of building the chicken coop and this tomato house thing and planting fruit trees, probably the first thing that I should have done is over there in the corner, built a little shelter or some storage solutions. I've had plans to build a little hay shed in the corner here and then create like A-frames for storing materials. Like, see that A-frame there that I built to store all the glass? What I should have done is made more frames over here and shelters or racks for stacking things like this timber, the corrugated iron, and all the wood that I've collected over here really neatly in a pile and out of the weather, not just laying on the ground. It's just sitting there rotting, getting more destroyed, and then the grass grows up around it and it just becomes a bigger job. Just trying to keep the place neat and tidy, it's become a bigger problem than it should have been just because I didn't have a storage solution to begin with. Like, you can't even see it, but there's metal, old iron fencing or whatever it is, mesh steel fencing, something all around here, and I can't even whippersnip it because it's just a big pile of mess and rubbish, and I'm worried that there's snakes here. It's really not that terrible a mistake, but it's not ideal either. So my mistake and my advice to you guys is, before you go and build what you want, maybe I should have built what I needed. That way I wouldn't have a big pile of mess. I wouldn't have to worry about grass growing up around everything. I wouldn't be worried about snakes. Haven't seen any yet. Hopefully it stays that way. This property may be quite small, but even still, the grass grows so fast, and I'd say trying to just manage the grass and all the mess is the biggest problem so far. Thank you to Di and Sam for organising this video. It's really great to see the Aussie homesteading community getting together and sharing a few stories, and hopefully everyone can learn a little bit from it. Like I said at the start, a lot of the big mistakes that we've made here, I don't really know what they are yet. We've still got to build a house, put a septic system in, plant heaps more trees, get council permits, all sorts of things and opportunities to make really big mistakes. So We're just early on in our journey and we haven't really learnt any of those major mistakes just yet, but I'm sure we're going to discover a few and we'll have plenty more to share. I hope this little mistake has helped you or somebody out there who's also thinking of starting a little homestead, and maybe instead of building your chicken coop first, you might make some storage solutions and save yourself any grass problems. See you next time.
Hey guys, I am Samson from Diane Sam. We are lifestyle, bus life, homesteading content creators on YouTube in the beautiful New South Wales. And today I'm going to talk about my biggest mistake. This is a large scope mistake. It's something that I'm always trying to battle against as opposed to something that's a little bit more acute. But for me, the biggest mistake I seem to continually make is clashing my lifestyle and personality with the design and chores of the homestead. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I'm actually a musician and typically I work nights. I'm a night shift worker. I'm a bit of a night owl and I'm not much of a morning person. And that kind of clashes directly with a lot of homesteading lifestyle choices. For example, a mistake I made when we moved onto our first homestead was I built a chicken coop that was a tractor elevated off the ground, which meant the chooks were in a box. And if you didn't get to them at the crack of dawn, they were just sitting in there waiting for you to let them out, not doing anything. And that's just not okay. And what ended up happening was it led to a resentment of the chore because it collided directly with the lifestyle choices I wanted to make. Like even things like going to work, working all night, coming home, I'd be rushing home to let the chooks out because I know that the longer they're in there, the worse I'd feel. And what that ended up doing was putting a lot of pressure on my partner. And I think around that time, Di was actually working as well. So she was working as a primary school teacher. She'd be getting up early already. She'd already need to be at school. And it just loaded on a lot more responsibility onto her day. Another example of me making the mistake would be to commit to a long-term temporary system. So we did get sheep on the property and we were using temporary rotational grazing with removable fencing. And that was very, very labor intensive. And because they were sheep and we were trying to breed, it was a long-term thing. And that was a mistake because it directly clashed with my lifestyle choices at the time. I was working as a sound engineer and that all kind of came to a head after a year of trying to force our way through this mistake and make the sheep happen. I actually had gone away for 3 to 4 days to work at a music festival. And in that time, the sheep had escaped into the bush and made their way down to the dairy where they were born and raised, which meant they then knew how to walk from our property back to where their original flock was, which meant that we couldn't keep them on the property anymore because they knew once they got out where they needed to go to get back home as far as they were concerned. And that was a mistake. Me making a choice to commit to that style of farming but also living a lifestyle where I was leaving for 4 days at a time. So just to summarize on what I learned from those mistakes was to design the homestead in a way that suits my lifestyle so I can be the person that I am and be happy and not resentful of the chores. For example, making a chook coop that we've just built that can be left for multiple days at a time, that needs very little maintenance, that doesn't put a bunch of pressure on my wife if I leave for 3 days at a time. And choosing animals or a farming style that suits the lifestyle of leaving for a couple of days at a time. For example, pigs are great. We had them for 3 months. It was intensive, but then once they were gone, that work stopped. So I hope my mistakes can help you in making your design choices for your homestead so they can suit your lifestyle appropriately.
Hey everyone, I'm Jamie Pitt. I'm from the Second Acre Homestead. We are really new to homesteading, so we've only been here on our property for 6 months, and previously we've lived in suburbia our whole life. Really big tree change for us. We got 2 young kids here. We're on a bit over 2 acres. We moved from the Gold Coast out here in southeast Queensland, and we're just trying to create a homestead and live sustainably. I've been building garden beds and we've been harvesting food, and it's been an incredible journey so far. But I'm standing in front of one of our biggest, let's call it a mistake, but would be more of a culture shock. We moved, like I said, from the Gold Coast on town water. Here we only have tanks, and we went through our water like crazy, and we just didn't realize how much water you use day to day and how grossly greedy we are with our usage, just from like flushing toilets and doing the dishes and just letting the kids have the hose and stuff like that. Not that we did that here, but our habits and behaviour really didn't help us when we first moved in. It was only a couple of weeks and we were nearly out of water, and luckily we had a lot of rain then, so we filled up our tanks. We've since been a lot smarter with our usage. We did have a really dry patch there, so we did have to get water trucked in, but this is something we are looking to expand. We are going to be investing in more storage, as in water tanks. We are tossing up and have had people out to quotas for drilling a bore. Very expensive, a few unknowns. We do have a lot of neighbours that do have their own bores, so there is that option, but it's not in the budget. It's really, really expensive. So that's definitely been the biggest learning curve for us, is just managing water usage and just realising how important water is. So thanks for having me, guys. Have a great day.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out. We hope you've enjoyed this and you've learned a lot. Please go check out the other channels so we can keep growing this beautiful community of homesteading that we have.